Hello, my name is Isaac Espericueta with Jeremiah Matthews, and today we're going to be explaining the fabrication setup for artificial muscle.
This is the artificial muscle that we'll be creating, and we'll show you the setup and manufacturing process.
First, before anything, turn on the power supply. Make sure it's set at 20 volts and make sure everything's connected to the microcontrollers. Then, when you looked at the downloading video, make sure to open up Spin Family Evaluation Tool. It'll take you to this page. Then connect the ports, the microcontroller ports, to the computer. Then you will see COM8 and COM7. COM8 is the top motor, COM7 is the bottom motor. So let's start with the top motor. Then go to power step 01. Then it'll take you to the page where you have to write the coding to the motor. So you're gonna browse. Make sure you already have this coding for the fishing line. Open. You're gonna load, apply, write. Then it's successful. Okay, then quit and press yes. And then once again, open up another page for the Spin Family Evaluation Tool. Then go to COM7. Power step 01. And then do the same steps again. So fishing line, open, load, apply, write, successful, quit, yes. And then make sure to go to the speed bar for each one. In order to test if these motors are running right, remember to go to the speed bar, change this 0 to 100. Forward, then you're gonna run the top motor. So as I press run, you can see that it is moving and it's working correctly. Then to stop it, just press hard stop. Test the bottom motor, 100. Run. You can see it is working correctly.
To set this up, you first need 2 paper clips, and then, or safety pins, and then attach the fishing line from whichever spool of fishing line you have, and you just attach it to the little loop here and connect it to the other loop on the other end. And then once you do this right here is 3 feet of fishing line, so we connect the top safety pin to the top hook on the top motor. Then you let this dangle down, and then we'll put this stopper block in this safety pin, and then 500 grams on the bottom hook of this, so it has the tension for the fishing line. The first part of the manufacturing process is to coil the fishing line a little bit. So we're going to want to coil this until you start to see the coils form, then you would stop the rotations of the motors. So in order to achieve that, you would need to have the tension, which is the 500 grams, and then you also need to put the stopper block like this, so then it doesn't freely move, so then it can start to coil. If you don't do this, then it won't coil, because not stopping from freely rotating.
So continuing off what Jeremiah said, we're going to twist the nylon fishing line backwards, which is counterclockwise, 300 RPM, right? So put this at 300 RPM, then BW counterclockwise for the top motor, COM8, yes. So now we're going to run the top motor 300 backwards. So as I press run, you will see that the top motor is actually turning now. And as you can see that Jeremiah has stopped it from freely rotating. So as this is actually rotating, you will see this stopper block coming up. That is actually a good representation or evidence that it's actually starting to twist, right? So as this is coming up, it'll start to self-coil. Right before it starts to self-coil, you want to stop the software so that way we can go ahead and wrap the nichrome wire to the fishing line.
As you can see, as you're coiling it up, it starts to move slowly up, and if this is in the way, make sure to guide it out of the way so that it can able to coil. As you can see, it's starting to coil. We should stop it. So as you see, it's kind of hard to see in the video, but it is self-coiled a little bit. So once you notice that it starts to coil, you should stop it. So then now we're ready for the next step of the process. The next step of the process is to wrap the nichrome wire around the fishing line. So right here we have nichrome wire on the spool, and the first step is to grab the end of the nichrome wire and use the ladder safely. And then if you see where we tied up the fishing line on the loop, in that same loop, tie up the nichrome wire. So then whenever we are wrapping it, it will wrap around the wire. Or a fishing line, I mean. So after you tie up the nichrome wire, if you have a little bit of extra nichrome wire after the tie, try to cut that off so then it's not in the way in the future. So then we have this nichrome wire, which is coming all the way down to the spool. So what we need to do is add this little 20-gram weight to this, so then it gives tension on the nichrome wire so it can wrap around the fishing line effectively. And as you can see, this nichrome wire is outside of the 3D printed guide, and so once we start the twisting of the bottom motor, this guide will come down. Simultaneously, the top motor will also be running, which will twist the wire or the fishing line, and then we'll wrap the nichrome wire around the fishing line all the way into the bottom. This guide is used just to evenly space the pitch between the nichrome wire loops. And then once we start the rotations of the motor, we should take out this pole and this pole and take off carefully. We have to remove this block and attach the weight to the safety pin. So then this will start to freely rotate. That's okay. And then once you do that, you turn on both motors. The top motor is in backwards at 300, the same direction that we're coiling it, and then the bottom motor is in the forwards direction, so it can go down at 150 RPM.
So make sure while you have this nichrome wire here that you put this metal bar into this hole. This is just so that there's no interference with anything whenever the nichrome wire is actually wrapping around. This is just to make sure that basically nothing is interfering while this is going down, right? Because as it is coming down, this nitro wire will be touching this other metal bar and this other thing. So make sure to just nicely guide it while it's actually going down, so nothing of that is interfering.
Okay, so now we're about to start the twisting part of it. So first step is to remove these barriers, and so then this will have this place to rotate. And then next step, you got to be very careful. We have to take off the top part here. And safely put it here. Make sure to keep the tension while this is all happening. And now it will start to want to freely rotate, but once we start this process, this motor and this motor, I'll let go, but make sure whenever this is rotating for both motors, just to guide the weight so then it doesn't fall.
Because it's gonna be
it's gonna be spinning. If I was to let go right now, it would start to spin. So make sure you kind of hold it and guide it so it doesn't go all over the place.
All right, as we're heading into the wrapping of the nichrome wire, go back to your software. Make sure these motors are correctly working. So just test it out, put it at 5 RPM for each motor to see that if they're actually working properly. Next, so for the bottom motor, as we're going into this next step, the bottom motor is supposed to be at 150 RPM forward. 150 RPM forward, and then the top motor the same RPM, 300 RPM, the same direction backwards, right? All right, so now I'm going to run the top motor first, 3, 2, and then the bottom motor as well.
So as I let go, you kind of just let it go, but make sure you guide it so then it is not going everywhere, because if this was to go freely and catch onto the nichrome wire, things would go bad. Get a close up of that.
Yeah, and then as you can see on the top one, it's actually moving counterclockwise while this is going down, as you can see. And as you can see on the nichrome wire, so as you can see, the wire is actually wrapping around the fishing line. See a little bit of it, right? And so this is actually pretty good. So. All right, so we're gonna let this continue, right? And as this nichrome wire is finished all the way to the bottom, you're gonna stop it whenever it gets to the self-coiling part of the nylon fishing.
So this weight on the bottom of the fishing line, or I mean the nichrome wire, it might start to drop like how it is right now. It is okay because it's just retensioning itself. So if you notice that, don't worry. And then kind of, I like to do a safety precaution, kind of separate the nichrome wire from the weight, so then in case this hook doesn't catch on to the nichrome wire and then it'll mess up the coiling. So kind of like to put a little separation so it's no chance of catching. So we're coming to almost to the end of the wrapping of the nichrome wire. So once you notice that the wire is about to get here, you should stop it on the motor side, and by clicking hard stop. So you would want to stop both the bottom motor and then the top motor. And then from here, we'll go on to the next step, which is coiling around the main rod. Stop now. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now since the nichrome wire is wrapped all the way to the bottom, next step is to take a little piece of tape and find where the top of where the best coils start to happen. So then you'll know where to cut it at the very end of this process. So from my seeing, I can tell is right about here is where it started to be good. You don't need that much tape for this process. And then at the bottom, same thing. Find out where the bottom of the best coiling is, and then put the tape there. So my bottom is pretty close to the end, so just gonna tape like this. So once we tape it like this, we can take our scissors, be careful, and just cut the nichromar and re-spool it into the spool for later use. Take off the weight so it's not keep coming down. Okay, so the next step of the process is the coiling for the fishing line. So in order to coil, we're gonna need the mano rod and 2 couplings. And then we'll also need 2 screws and then 4 washers, 2 per screw. All right, so we take 1 mano rod, or take it, the coupling, put it on the other end, about here. And then in one of these holes, you, with the Allen key, tighten it down. Then other coupling, this one has a backing on it, so then it won't go all the way through. So this one goes like right here, and you use the Allen key, tighten that down. So once that's tight, it should not move. The purpose of this is so whenever we go to this side of the setup place, we stick this inside the hole and then move the motor a little bit back and connect the motor to inside of this. So once we do that, we would attach that eventually, but this is the main idea, and this will just start wrapping around this metal rod. So for now, we're gonna take it out so then we can fix the screws. So the next step is to take a screw with 2 washers. So then the idea of the washers, I'm gonna use this paper clip as an example. The top of the other fishing line will be attaching it to the in between the washers, so then it can stay on tightly. And we are putting this screw into the first hole on the coupling. So this screw is pretty long, it works in our favor. So we attach it here so it's not going to move, and we would attach the end of the fishing line safety pin to here, and then it would start to wrap around once we connect it to the motor. So the next step is to insert it inside here, and then attach the motor, tighten the screw on this side, which attaches to the motor. Alright, now it's tight. The reason why we didn't add the screw on the other side at the moment is because once this starts to rotate, the screw will be in the way and interfering with the rotation. So after we complete all of the coiling, we'll put the screw on the other side to connect from the bottom. But keep it recording.
Alright, the next step is to transfer the fishing line to the top, to the other motor that's right over here, right? So in order to do this, make sure you have another person with you, so it's a 2-person job. one person's gonna be holding it from the weight, and the other person's actually gonna be transferring the top end of the fishing line to the other motor, right? So you're gonna see us.
When doing this, the person who's holding the bottom, don't pull the muscle up. Just kind of keep it with tension. Make sure the weights don't fall. Just kind of safety precaution. So first, I'm gonna move the safety pin to the washers on this end. All right. Go down, go down. Go down. Go up a little bit. Go down a little bit. Go up a little bit.
Okay.
Just slowly.
Yeah. Okay, and then in doing so with the transferring, make sure, so this right here is now 500. We had 500, right?
Keep it 500. We're keeping it at 500 for the test results, keeping the same, because there's different variations in this testing. You can either change the weights, but for this test, we're gonna keep it the same weight.
Okay. All right, now going to the third part of the Mandarin coiling. Looking at the software side, we're looking at the top motor only for this part. So we don't have to worry about the bottom motor, because this motor that you see right here is actually equivalent to this other motor. So as we're running this top motor, it was actually running this one, right? So for the data, how we're gonna run it, it's gonna be the same thing as we ran it for the other two steps, which was 300 RPM backwards, right? And as the software is running, this motor is going to start rotating counterclockwise, and you will actually see that this wire, the fishing line, will start to wrap around the metal bar. So as it's wrapping around, you want to make sure that it is actually wrapping around nicely, and Jeremiah will actually be guiding.
I'll be holding the weight from the bottom, making sure there's enough tension, but also kind of making sure the coiling is happening correctly. At the beginning of whenever you start the motor, there'll be kind of a loud noise. It's okay, it's normal. It's just trying to position itself on the rod. So it'll have a little bit of a loud noise, but once you go past the loud noise, it should be smooth sailing, wrapping around it. And this process is fast compared to the wrapping part. So just be mindful of that.
All right, so now we're going to run the software and continue with this part. So at 300 backwards RPM, start 3, 2, 1. Okay, so if that does happen,
just kind of adjust the coupling, because maybe it's just touching it. So sometimes if the distance is too long, it will be stopping itself. So I'm gonna adjust it to go a little bit closer so it's not hitting this wall on the side.
So this is the second attempt after it didn't go. So we're gonna run it again. 3, 2, 1.
Alright, so now since it is successfully went through, we are now just kind of guiding it, making sure it has the right tension. And as you can see, it's going pretty quickly. So just be careful and be ready to stop it whenever it gets close to the end.
And then just carefully guide the weight as it's going up, so nothing interferes.
Soon Alright, wait. Stop.
No, I didn't record that. Oh no, I did.
Okay, so is it on?
Yeah.
Alright, so now since we reached the end of the coiling, we're gonna get our screw from the first time we got our screw. Get
Is it this one?
the one on the right. That one. No,
one?
yeah. So, can you hold this real quick?
Yeah.
Kind of just hold it, make sure nothing drops. So now I have attached the screw here. Carefully, I'll remove this weight and connect it. Low-key pause it, it's not gonna reach.
Okay, so if it didn't work for one paperclip, just use another one and just kind of like push the muscle out just so that it can actually like connect it to the screw. All right, so now what Jeremiah is doing is just
taking it off the motor, so then we can freely take off our muscle, and now it is ready to go into the furnace. So now we come into the other lab and use the furnace, so turn it on.
So as you can see, it's actually, once you turn it on, it's tuning itself already. So right now, the mode that we want is at 173, as you can see, the timer. So it's at 173. Let's put it at 172 right now. And now the furnace is gonna just heat itself up for a while. It's gonna take a while, but the way this furnace works, right, it's gonna go up a little bit more than 170 degrees. After it goes up to it's gonna keep on going up to like 190 to like probably 210. That's okay. That's just, it needs to heat up a little bit more just so it can get at a consistent temperature. So just make sure, don't panic after it goes to 210, and just.
Okay, so now since the furnace is heated up to 172, we can now put it in. So put it up. Carefully slide it in the farthest you can. Then close the furnace. So now we'll set a timer for 20 minutes on one side, and after the 20 minutes are over, we'll flip the muscle so it can get 20 minutes on out. So now after the 20 minutes are over, you flip it to its other side. Alright, so now since the total 40 minutes has gone past, we can take it out of the furnace and we'll just let it sit for a couple minutes so then it can cool down. After this step, we'll go on to putting the crimps. Okay, so now since it's cold or cooled down, we can take off the screws. And then we can take off the couplings off the rod. carefully slide off the muscle if you can. Might be a little bit sticky because this tape. Might have put a little bit too much, but should be fine. So now since it's coming off,
push it, yeah, really hard.
right, now the muscle is off of the rod. Should be looking like this.
And there's your artificial muscle.
And the next step is to crimp the ends, so then we can, like these, not this exact one, but one like this, you put it on the end and the electric current should go through the whole muscle so that it can expand. And I'll show you how to do that. Wherever we taped it, the end of where I taped it, I'm going to cut. And I'll do the same thing for the other side. So now we should be left with just the coil. Okay, so now the next step is to grab this heat gun and we're gonna heat up the end of this so then we can straighten it a little bit so the crimp can fit on. So turn on the heat gun, kind of let it warm up. So now since we heated up and straightened out a little bit the wire, you need to undo the nylon wire a little bit so then we can, let's see if I can get it. Yeah, so once you get it, just uncoil it a little bit. Because this will need to be wrapped around the crimp. And you do that on both sides. Now since we have unwinded a little bit of the nylon wire, we can slip the crimp in. And then with your pliers,
forcefully clamp it.
yeah. And then once you do clamp it, you loop the extra nylon wire around this. So now we have wrapped around the nylon wire around the crimps on the circles. So once you do this, you have fully created your artificial muscle.